Welcome again for this Sunday's Gospel reflection. Well, I am a hopeless fisherman. Never actually caught any fish except a single one in a remote village pond in India. And I'm sure it was the most stupid and gullible fish that has ever existed to allow itself to be caught by me, using a simple thread, a bent pin as a hook, and a crumb of bread as bait. Still, it made me the happiest fisherman on earth. Not just for the sizable fish, but because I could finally eat something fresh to eat. So I asked the cook to just roast the fish and with an explicit prohibition for her not to add any spices or curry or other Indian ingredients because my stomach could not tolerate that. So lunchtime came and there was my fish, beautifully roasted. My first mouthful was the last. All the hot spices and curry of India had been dumped into that fish. Couldn't help asking the cook why she had ruined it for me in spite of my explicit warnings. And her answer is still ringing in my ears. Father, I only put a little. She simply could not cook anything without adding spices. That was her way. That was her definition of good cooking. In today's gospel, Jesus confronts us with an enormous challenge. Righteousness and holiness is not defined by what we do, but why and how we do what we do. In the best of scenarios, we all love our parents, children, family. We make big sacrifices for those we love. We do welcome others and show them kindness. We do offer a cup of water to a thirsty neighbor. Yet Jesus seems to be telling us that this is not enough. And even more strongly, he warns us that all this can be an illusion. Very boldly and shockingly, he affirms that if we do not do all this for him, then we are missing the whole meaning of the love we think we have. We are not worthy of him, he says. We cannot be his disciples. We will even lose our lives. Strong words indeed, and confusing ones too. Because didn't he also say that what we do to others, we're doing it to him? So why is he seems to be saying the opposite now? He is really impossible to understand. The catch seems to be in the word prefer. Preference means choosing between two or more options. Why do I make this or that choice? Who am I aiming to please? The big question is it really the other, or is it me and my tastes, my preferences, my curry, my way of cooking? Who comes first, the others or myself? Like that simple Indian cook, with all her good and generous intentions, there was only one way of cooking a tasty roasted fish: in spices. Because that was her way, and therefore the only way. She simply could not understand that it could be cooked my way. So, in her generosity and kind-heartedness, she saw her needs and not mine. This is the greatest challenge for us human beings, and this is the great and painful freedom of Christ-like love as opposed to worldly human love. Jesus is indeed shocking us into opening our hearts to a different way of loving, which requires the death of self. Anyone who finds his life will lose it. Anyone who loses his life for my sake will find it. When Jesus says, anyone who prefers father or mother, son or daughter to me is not worthy of me, he is not presenting himself just like another person competing with your mom or dad, your son or daughter for our love. He is not asking us to neglect or forget the others for his sake. He is asking us to forget ourselves, to love others for their own sake. It's cooking the fish according to their tastes and not mine. Doing things for God is doing things the way He does them. And the way God does things is always the way of love. He forgets Himself to concentrate on us, our needs. Too often, much too often, even without our noticing it, we think in terms of doing the right things, the correct things. Little knowing that this could be a very crafty way to go just part of the way of love, but not the whole way. I give you something, even a big thing, so long as I don't give you myself. What is the use of feeding someone food, which in itself may be good and wholesome, but to which the person concerned might be allergic to? There is nothing wrong with peanuts, but for some peanuts can be deadly. So loving someone is going beyond the goodness of the peanuts to seek what is indeed good for the person concerned. There is nothing wrong with working long hours to feed one's family, but there is something very wrong with sacrificing time with the family to make more and more money to pay for your dream car, your dream house, your dream holiday. Working for the family becomes a sham excuse to cover up our own selfish desires. You're doing the right thing, but for the wrong reasons. We can apply this hypocrisy to all areas of our societies and life. We are so ready to condemn all violence, but then we promote violence against the unborn child through abortion. Contradiction. Because it suits us and not the child. How many corrupt politicians all over the world would be the first to sit in front benches during religious services and yet commit the gravest injustices through their unjust laws and practices? How many impressively rich benefactors give large sums of money in charity campaigns, whilst underpaying and exploiting their employees in their businesses and factories? And the same goes with our relationship with God. Like the Pharisees, we may be very keen to observe the rules and regulations just to feel safe with God. But as soon as we step back in real life, it's our selfishness, our pleasure, our greed that take over. This is what Jesus is telling us today. Are you courageous enough to be consistent and pay the real price of real love and not just keep up appearances of being good and correct? There is no shortcut to real love. Its price is always the giving up of oneself, totally and unconditionally. But giving up our lives out of love for others is the only way to find the real life for which we have been created. Anyone who finds his life will lose it, says Jesus. Anyone who loses his life for my sake will find it. Our choice is not between loving others or loving Jesus. Our choice is between seeking ourselves in loving others or seeking Jesus in loving others for their own sake. If we find Him, if we are capable of seeing Him in others by forgetting ourselves, then and only then will we have found our real selves. And our real selves is Jesus within us. Thank you and God bless you.